and the ultimate guide to lifelong brain health, maintaining peak memory, preventing dementia, and optimizing vascular function. Introduction: The myth of inevitable decline. For decades, society has operated under a grim assumption that cognitive decline is an inevitable consequence of aging. We accept forgetfulness, brain fog, and slower processing speeds as the tax we pay for living a long life. However, modern neuroscience has radically shifted this paradigm. We now understand that the brain is not a static organ that simply wears out like a tire on a car. It is a dynamic, plastic, and adaptable system capable of growth, repair, and regeneration throughout our entire lifespan. This concept, known as a neuroplasticity, is the cornerstone of modern brain health. The title of this guide, More Recommended Than Eggs, serves as a provocative hook. Eggs are widely celebrated in nutritional science as a brain food powerhouse, primarily due to their high choline content, which is a precursor to acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter critical for memory and learning. If something is recommended more than eggs, it implies an intervention, whether dietary, lifestyle-based, or physiological, that offers a more profound, systemic, or foundational benefit to brain health than a single nutrient source can provide. This comprehensive guide will explore the multifaceted approach to maintaining peak memory and preventing dementia. We will delve into the intricate connection between vascular health and brain function, dissect the early warning signs of cognitive impairment, and provide actionable, evidence-based strategies for memory enhancement. We will move beyond simple supplements and look at the holistic ecosystem of the human body, where heart health, gut health, sleep quality, emotional well-being, and physical activity converge to create a resilient mind. By the end of this extensive exploration, you will possess a deep understanding of how to protect your most valuable asset, your mind. You will learn not just what to do, but why it works, empowering you to make informed decisions that safeguard your cognitive future. Whether you are in your 30s looking to build a cognitive reserve, in your 50s noticing subtle changes, or in your 70s seeking to maintain independence, this guide is designed for you. Part 1. The biology of memory and aging. To understand how to preserve memory, we must first understand what memory is and how it changes with age. Memory is not a single entity stored in one location of the brain. It is a complex, distributed process involving multiple brain regions, including the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, and the cerebellum. 1.1. Types of memory. Psychologists and neuroscientists generally categorize memory into several distinct types. Working memory. This is your mental workspace. It allows you to hold and manipulate information over short periods. For example, remembering a phone number just long enough to dial it. Working memory relies heavily on the prefrontal cortex. Episodic memory. This is the memory of autobiographical events, times, places, associated emotions. It is the movie of your life. The hippocampus is critical for forming and retrieving episodic memories. This is often the first type of memory to show signs of decline in normal aging and Alzheimer's disease. Semantic memory. This refers to general world knowledge, facts, and concepts, e.g., knowing that Paris is the capital of France. Semantic memory is relatively preserved in normal aging and even in early stages of dementia. Procedural memory. This is muscle memory or skill-based memory, such as riding a bike or playing the piano. It involves the basal ganglia and cerebellum and is highly resistant to aging. 1.2. What happens to the brain as we age? Normal aging involves several structural and functional changes. Brain shrinkage, atrophy. Starting in our 30s or 40s, the brain begins to shrink in volume, particularly in the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus. This shrinkage is due to the loss of synaptic connections and, to a lesser extent, the loss of neurons. Reduced neurotransmitter production. The production of key neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and acetylcholine decreases. Dopamine affects reward and motivation. Acetylcholine affects learning and memory. Slower processing speed. The white matter tracks that connect different brain regions may degrade, leading to slower signal transmission. This manifests as taking longer to recall a name or process new information. Decreased blood flow. As blood vessels stiffen with age, cerebral blood flow may decrease, reducing the delivery of oxygen and glucose to brain cells. However, it is crucial to distinguish between normal age-related memory change and pathological decline, such as mild cognitive impairment or dementia. Normal aging. Occasionally forgetting names or appointments but remembering them later. Sometimes having trouble finding the right word. Misplacing items occasionally but being able to retrace steps to find them. Ability to live independently and manage daily tasks. Pathological decline. Warning signs. Forgetting recently learned information repeatedly. Asking the same questions over and over. Getting lost in familiar places. Difficulty. Following recipes or managing bills. Personality changes or increased confusion. Understanding this distinction is vital because it reduces anxiety. Not every forgotten name is a sign of dementia. However, proactive measures can help ensure that normal aging does not progress into pathological decline. 1.3. The concept of cognitive reserve, one of the most important concepts in brain health, is cognitive reserve. This refers to the brain's ability to improvise and find alternate ways of getting a job done. Think of it as a buffer. Two people may have the same amount of physical brain pathology, e.g., amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's, but one person shows no symptoms while the other exhibits severe dementia. The person with no symptoms has a higher cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is built through education and lifelong learning, complex occupational activities, social engagement, physical exercise, mental stimulation, puzzles, reading, music. Building cognitive reserve is like saving money for retirement. The more you invest in your brain throughout your life, the more resilience you have against age-related damage. This guide will focus heavily on strategies to build and maintain this reserve. Part 2. The vascular connection. Why heart? Health is brain health. The phrase vascular health in the title is not incidental. There is a profound and direct link between the health of your blood vessels and the health of your brain. In fact, many experts argue that what is good for the heart is good for the head. 2.1. The brain's energy demands. Although the brain represents only about 2% of total body weight, it consumes approximately 20% of the body's oxygen and glucose. It is an energy-hungry organ. To meet this demand, the brain requires a constant, robust supply of blood. The cerebral circulation system delivers oxygen and nutrients while removing waste products. When vascular health is compromised, this supply chain is disrupted. This can lead to hypoxia, reduced oxygen supply to brain tissue, nutrient deprivation, lack of glucose and essential fats, toxin accumulation, inability to clear metabolic waste, including beta-amyloid proteins. 2.2. Small vessel disease and silent strokes. While major strokes are obvious and devastating, small vessel disease, SVD, is a silent killer of cognition. SVD involves damage to the tiny blood vessels deep within the brain. Over time, these vessels can narrow, leak, or become blocked. This leads to white matter, hyperintensities. Visible on MRI scans, these are areas of damaged brain tissue caused by reduced blood flow. They are strongly associated with slower processing speed, executive dysfunction, and gait disturbances. Lacunar infarcts. Tiny, silent strokes that may not cause immediate noticeable symptoms but accumulate over time, contributing significantly to vascular dementia and mixed dementia, Alzheimer's plus vascular. 2.3. The role of blood pressure hypertension, high blood pressure, is the single most significant modifiable risk factor for dementia. High blood pressure damages the endothelial lining of blood vessels, making them stiff and less able to regulate blood flow to the brain. Midlife hypertension. Having high blood pressure in your 40s and 50s is particularly dangerous for later life cognitive health. It sets the stage for vascular damage that manifests as dementia decades later. Orthostatic hypotension. A sudden drop in blood pressure upon standing can also reduce cerebral perfusion and is linked to cognitive decline. Actionable insight. Monitoring and managing blood pressure is arguably the most effective memory pill available. Keeping systolic blood pressure below 120-130 mmHg, as per individual medical advice, can significantly reduce the risk of cognitive decline. 2.4 Cholesterol and atherosclerosis. High levels of LDL, bad, cholesterol contribute to atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque in arteries. When this occurs in the carotid arteries, which supply the brain, it restricts blood flow. Furthermore, recent research suggests that cholesterol metabolism plays a role in the formation of amyloid plaques in Alzheimer's disease. The APOE4 gene variant, the strongest genetic risk factor for Alzheimer's, is involved in cholesterol transport in the brain. 2.5 Diabetes and insulin resistance. Type 2 diabetes and prediabetes, insulin resistance, are major threats to brain health. The brain uses insulin to help neurons take up glucose. When TUI,